So welcome. Thank you so much. I will now pass the floor to Consul Pabijuela, who will give us the main dish of today's media. Consul?
So again, we are going to have a presentation this afternoon on the planned resumption of services of the Philippine Consulate. And again, we are imploring you, our partners in the media, to help disseminate to the greater Filipino-American community on the processes and the important guidelines that the consulate will be implementing in our resumption of services. The guidelines for resumption would be, first, only a limited number of services will be offered. So we are not going to offer all consular services upon our resumption. And only the services that would require personal appearance will be initially offered. And it will be strictly available by appointment only. So again, we wish to emphasize to abide by the requirements of physical distancing. We can only do that if we have an appointment system. No walk-ins will be allowed. So if you don't have an appointment, you will not be allowed entry into the building. Also, consistent with the current protocols on physical distancing, if you don't have a mask, we will not allow you to enter the premises. For the initial phase, and this will be for the first 2 weeks upon reopening, we will be open only 3 days a week. So these are Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We will also be operating on a limited number of hours. We will operate only from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and only from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we have another reminder for everybody that because of the effects of COVID-19 to the logistical requirements of delivering a passport, there may be an additional 2 to 4 weeks delay in the delivery of passports because all passports are manufactured in the Philippines. For civil registry, which is the report of birth, the report of marriage, and the report of death, you don't have to be physically here in the consulate to do this. You can actually do this by mail. For passport releasing, we have been implementing since the start of the lockdown in March that all passports will be mailed out instead of you personally picking them up here. So again, you don't have to physically come here to pick up your passport. Simply provide us a self-addressed stamped envelope, and then we will mail the passport back to you. Dual citizenship, unfortunately, is still currently suspended until further notice. Legalization, again, you don't have to physically come to the consulate to have this done because the U.S. is a signatory to the Apostille Convention. So any documents that you wish to be used in the Philippines, you can instead ask for an apostille certificate from your respective secretaries of state. Now, what appointments will be made available? First, it will be made for urgent passport applications. Now, what do we mean by urgent passport applications? These are for Filipinos whose only means of identification is the Philippine passport. Remember, if you do not have any urgent means, need to travel, an expired passport is okay. We will still renew an expired passport. Okay, so again, urgent passport needs would be for those whose passport is the only means of identification. Now, if a Filipino has an urgent need to travel, if the travel is back to the Philippines and the person has an expired passport, they may apply for what we call a travel document. Now, what if the passport's validity is less than 6 months? If the Philippine citizen is traveling to the Philippines, she may still be allowed entry even with a Philippine passport whose validity is less than 6 months. Then they can apply for the passport renewal in the Philippines. And again, if a Filipino citizen has an urgent travel to a country other than the Philippines, the consulate may extend the validity of the passport. However, there's a caveat that we cannot guarantee that the border authorities of that country the Filipino is traveling to will recognize an extended passport. Because according to the latest ICAO regulations, because the Philippines has been already using an electronic passport, we should no longer be extending passports. First, we'll resume overseas voter registration, and this cannot be done by mail. It has to be in person because we have to capture your photograph and your biometrics. And Social Security. So these are the 4 services that we will offer at least for the first 2 weeks under using our appointment system. Now, what do we need to know prior to coming to the Philippine Consulate? First, you have to go to our website and book an appointment. Please download, print, and complete the passport application form. Please prepare all the necessary requirements. That would include your original documents, and please do not forget photocopies. Some of our kababayans forget to bring photocopies, so they need to photocopy here. Again, that's additional time spent, which we hope to minimize. Please, for the complete list of requirements, visit our website. Now, we encourage, and we will actually be requiring passport applicants to bring a self-addressed stamped prepaid envelope. And this is so we will email the passport back to you once we receive it. So again, you do not need to come here to pick up your passport. We will mail it to you. So you will only need to come here once. And of course, please bring payment. We only accept cash or money order. Now, on the day of the appointment, again, please bring all required documents, originals and photocopies. You will be allowed entry into the building not earlier than 15 minutes before your appointment time, because we want to comply with the 2-meter distance between our public. A mask is required to enter the building. So again, if you don't have a mask, we will not allow you to enter the building. Upon entry, your temperature will be checked using a non-contact thermometer. If your temperature will be recorded as 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, we will ask you to return home and come back when you don't have high fever, this high temperature anymore. And again, because of our limited space and the requirements of physical distancing, only 1 applicant is allowed to enter at any time. However, there are exceptions, and these are if the applicant is a minor. 1 parent must accompany this applicant. If the applicant is very elderly, pregnant, or disabled, and they require physical assistance. Okay, so if an applicant is a senior citizen, but is still physically fit and does not require physical assistance, then they do not need a companion. How do we book an appointment? Proceed to our website. We cannot give you a specific link yet because, like I said earlier, the link is not yet live, but it will be once we have a fixed date. So that's the very first thing you need to do, is to go to our website. Then you click on the service that you wish. And again, we will only be limiting to passports, travel documents, voter registration, and Social Security. The other services, the links will not be active. So even if you click on notarization or visa, it will not be active because it is suspended as of now. Then we will ask you to provide your details, such as your first name, your last name, a valid email address, and very important, your mobile phone number. Your mobile phone number is important because we will be sending you, the system will be sending you SMS notifications of your appointment. So please, it should be a mobile phone you are in possession of or you have easy access to. We have budgeted a 15-minute time slot for each appointment because 15 minutes is more than enough to process 1 applicant. So per hour, we will have 4 applicants. Okay? The system will again confirm your identity by asking you for your details. So that's your first name, last name, and email address. And once you've selected a date and a time, then a confirmation message will appear. This will appear in the website, giving you your confirmation code, informing you that you will receive a text message shortly with the same code, and as your appointment nears, you will be given reminders again via SMS. So again, you have to bring your cell phone with you when you come here because you have to show proof that you have your appointment for that day and time. On the day itself, you will be receiving a series of text messages reminding you that today is your appointment date. It will remind you of your appointment time. And in fact, it will even give you an estimated waiting time before your number is called. So this is very important because you are assured of how long you need to wait. For more information about our appointment system, which is handled by QLess, we have created a link in our website that not only enumerates all of the processes that I've discussed and presented to you today, but it also includes the most common frequently asked questions that we get with regards to QLess. Now, if after visiting this, and you still have some questions that we have not foreseen, then we have a dedicated email for our online appointment system, and that is newyorkpcg.qless@dfa.gov.ph. And as soon as we receive it, we will endeavor to respond to it as soon as feasibly possible. So thank you very much, Kanjan. I give it back to you.
There are some questions there, I believe. Beverly, who? Do I do anything? Okay. Carol, please raise your question. And welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone, Kanjan and my colleagues there. For those who want to do the apostille, can you please elaborate further on exactly how do you do it? Is there a notary public? And then you just pay for it and wait for the certification? Is that how it works at the Secretary of State?
The process of apostille. Well, both the Philippines and the United States are signatories to the Apostille Convention. Yeah. Now, prior to the signing of the Philippine government to the Apostille Convention, if one intends to use a document in the Philippines and it's issued in the United States, it has to be authenticated by the Philippine Consulate. But with the accession to the Apostille Convention, it is no longer necessary to do that. So in previous times, you had a document, you had it notarized by a notary public, you had to go to either your county clerk or your Secretary of State for them to authenticate the signature of the notary public. Then once they authenticated that, you had to bring it to the Philippine Consulate because we had to authenticate the signature of the county clerk or Secretary of State before you can use that in the Philippines. Now, that is no longer necessary. So after you have your document notarized by the notary public, you proceed to your Secretary of State, request for an apostille certificate, and that is sufficient. So you no longer need to come to us.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
If you're in the city, although we are physically closer to you, we do not authenticate anymore because the United States and the Philippines are both signatories to the Apostille Convention. So if your purpose for authentication is to authenticate a U.S. issued document, then that's unnecessary. Now, as for the jurat and the other documents that you need to sign here, well, yes, we are physically closer to you, but at least for the first 2 weeks after our reopening, we will not offer that service yet. Right. So if you really need that service, then you will have to go to the Secretary of State and request for an apostille certificate. But if you can wait and things have improved, then we will begin to slowly offer our other services. Then you can come personally to the consulate, of course, after making an appointment. So again, the appointment system, at least for the first 2 weeks, will only be for a limited number of services. But as things improve, we will begin to offer our other consular services.